First of all, folks, a disclaimer. The product I'm reviewing today is out of production and no longer available new. So if you find one of these, it's going to be either used or new old stock, and you'll probably have a difficult time finding one at all. With that said, used ones are out there, and I would like to review it. So here we go. This is the Dromida 1/18 scale brushless four-wheel drive touring car. Now, this was one of the last cars that Dromida made. They've since completely stopped making cars and focused only on drones. Now, I have quite a lot of experience with Dromidas. I've had 3 of them in the past. My first Dromida was an MT 4.18 monster truck that I put a Dodge Challenger body on. The second one was a DT 4.18 desert truck that I turned into a Jeep. And this is my third one. This is my first brushless Dromida. It's also my first non-off-road Dromida. But in most respects, it's fairly similar to the others, with a few key differences that I'm going to get into now. First of all, let's have a look at the car itself. Now, this is a fairly generic little car body. It's obviously meant to look like some sort of fairly modern two-door coupe, maybe like a Honda Civic coupe or something like that. It's not intended to resemble any specific car in real life, obviously. It's very generic, and it looks alright for what it is, although I'm not an enormous fan of it just because it doesn't look very scale. Most of the decorations are stickers, but you do have this wing that's separately applied and attached with 2 screws. However, the real fun starts when we pull off the body. There's just 4 clips, as usual. Now underneath, what we have here is a tiny little 5300 kV brushless motor. And this is what makes this car so special. All of my previous Dromidas have had 370 brushed motors, which were perfectly fine for their job, but they weren't that powerful and they overheated quite easily. This is a completely different animal. It's actually a slightly smaller diameter motor, but being brushless, it's much more efficient and much more powerful. Also, unlike those other Dromidas, this has the speed control and receiver in separate cases. The brush Dromidas have them both together in one case, which is rather annoying because then you can't replace just one of them if you have a preference of something else. You also have the same little micro servo, the same general chassis design. Everything else is pretty basic Dromida stuff. Although since this is the on-road car version, it has much shorter suspension arms and a much narrower track, as well as smaller diameter wheels. Also, instead of the normal off-road bumper, you have this foam bumper, which it looks like the previous owner of this car cut away a little bit to get better steering angle. Oh, and one more upgrade over the older Dromidas is that the shock height is now adjustable by twisting this instead of putting in C-clips, which is a matter of preference. I like both versions, but with the twisting ones, it's a little bit more convenient because you don't have to carry around spare C-clips or worry about losing them. Thus far, the one thing I really don't like about this is that it still uses this weird little plug that all the Dromidas use. It's a much smaller plug than most RC cars use, and it makes it a real pain if you want to swap around batteries or just charge the Dromida battery with a different charger, which you will want to because the one that they include is very, very slow indeed. And it seems like this car has at least some aspirations of being waterproof because, as you can see, the power switch is encased in rubber. Now, before we take this car out, let's have a quick look at the transmitter. This is the same standard transmitter that's been included with all Dromida vehicles. This is the same transmitter that I had on my previous ones. First of all, I will probably be replacing this at some point because it is not among my favorite transmitters. At first, it looks fine. It has a nice sort of foam grip on here, decent angle for the steering wheel, you have throttle trim, steering trim, feels pretty good in your hand, it's well balanced, you have AA batteries down here. Underneath here you have steering and throttle reverse, and you also have steering and throttle dual rate, which is the main thing that I do like about this transmitter. A lot of the cheap ones don't have a throttle dual rate, which just allows you to limit the maximum throttle, and that can be especially convenient if you have something like a brushless motor that could very easily be too fast to handle. Now, on to the bad things, and my complaints are not so much with the transmitter itself, but the way that it operates. This has almost no ability to creep slowly. It basically jumps from 0 to about 30% throttle and then goes up from there, which is annoying normally, but especially annoying if you have a really fast motor because it means that you basically are going to be driving around all the time just barely touching the throttle. It also seems to glitch out a lot and just not work very reliably. I've also had these run away on me before. Like literally, I won't be touching anything and it'll just spontaneously start driving and I won't be able to control it. That happened on my previous Dromida as well. So ultimately, this radio has the promise to be very good, but it just isn't. I'm going to go ahead and use this for our initial review, just so that everything stays stock and we can give an objective review of the car as a whole. But after after that's over, I'm immediately going to be swapping this out with one of those little fly sky radios that I like. This is the battery that you get with these Dromida cars. This is the same for all of them. I don't believe any of them come with a LiPo. This is a 6-cell nickel metal hydride battery. It's 1300 milliamp hours. As I said, I'm not going to modify anything on this car for this review. I'm going to save that for future videos. For now, I'm just going to install this battery. Very simple method. You just pull out a clip. I already pulled out the one on the other side. Pull this little thing off. Battery goes in there. Pop these back on. Put the clips back on these posts. Basically hold the battery in the same way the body goes in, and you are all set to drive. Plug this annoying little plug in. I should mention there's not really anything wrong with these plugs as such, although it doesn't look like they can handle very much amperage. And by the way, this is a 25 amp speed control for the brushless version. I don't know what the amperage rating is on the brushed ones, but there's nothing essentially wrong with the battery plug. It's just annoying that it doesn't match the plugs on anything else that I have. So I will be swapping those over to XT60 connectors as soon as I finish this review. On a positive note though, the power switch is located right here, which means that you can operate it without taking the body off. Just stick your finger up in there and, well, let me turn this on first. That is some serious power. That's the steering. I think we're ready to roll. All right, full speed. This car is insane. It's also very slippery, even given its grippy rubber tires. I think it might be because this road's a little bit damp. Here, I'll demonstrate what I was saying about the throttle not having any creep, basically. That's what happens if I try to go really slow. It's either quite a bit of throttle or nothing. Watch my finger. Do we dare try it on gravel? It's going to make a big mess to clean up when we get back, but I can't resist the temptation to see how it will do. Or at least what it will do. Moment of truth, here we go. Okay, this car was not designed with gravel in mind. Even though it shares a chassis and most of its parts with the Dromida rally car, this car is not well suited to gravel. It just bounces around a ton. This is really my first proper on-road car, and my first brushless car, so this is kind of a whole new experience. Even though I've been doing RC for so many years, I've never explored this side of it before. It's a lot of fun. Even when I inadvertently end up off-road. And this tiny little car responds so quickly, and it just changes directions like that. It's very, very easy to overcorrect and end up going off the road. It kind of makes me want to get a bigger one, like a Traxxas 4Tech or a Kyosho Phaser or something, and get a really cool scale body. I'm actually planning on putting a really cool scale body on this. The wheelbase is exactly the same as a lot of 16th scale toy grade cars, like the Jada Toys ones. So those will be a little bit heavier, but with this much power, I think I can handle it. So then this will actually look like a scale muscle car. While we're at it, I would like to check the motor temperature. Oh, it's actually not that warm at all. It's a little bit warm to the touch. It's just warm enough to be like a nice hand warmer, but I was worried it was going to be smoking hot, and it's not at all. I really like brushless.
Well, I think that just about wraps it up. I think we've seen all we need to see. I should note there's still plenty of battery life left, so brushless motors are quite efficient. Anyway, with that said, back to the studio.
Alright folks, well that concludes my review of the Dromida brushless touring car. As I said, this is out of production, you can't buy this new anymore, which honestly is a real shame because these little Dromida cars were great value for money, they were very well built, and I will miss them. I think there are other cars that will sort of fill that gap in the market, but I have a lot of history with Dromida, and it's a shame that you can't buy them new anymore, which is why this will probably be my last one, unless I can find another used one somewhere. Anyway folks, with that said, I will see you next time. Bye.